There is a reason you are here, not by accident, not by coincidence, but by a precise orchestration of timing, resonance, and unseen alignment. Out of billions of possibilities, this moment found you. And the title that drew you in, If Your Dreams Collapse into the Observer Loop, your quantum awakening begins before you sleep, is not just a string of words. It is a mirror, a reminder, a signal encoded for your frequency, because your awakening does not happen in a grand cathedral or on some distant mountaintop. It happens here, now, within the quiet chamber of your mind, between one breath and the next, between the pulse of thought and the silence that follows. You feel it, don't you? That sense that something larger is unfolding. The patterns of your life, the way certain struggles repeat, the way certain dreams circle back again and again, are not random mistakes. They are coded instructions. They are the looping signals of the universe trying to get your attention, trying to show you that the very act of observing reality changes it. And so, here you are, at the threshold of your own awakening. Let me tell you something your mind already suspects, but your heart already knows. You are not just a person chasing goals. You are a quantum being, vibrating across timelines, collapsing infinite potentials into one lived reality. Each thought you hold is not a ghost in your head. It is a particle wave dancing at the edge of manifestation. Each emotion you feel is not just chemistry. It is coherence, resonance, frequency, aligning you with one version of the future or another. And tonight, before you sleep, something shifts. Because the loop that has held you, this cycle of observing, doubting, replaying, and collapsing into the same outcome again and again, is about to break. Not by effort, not by struggle, but by recognition. The simple act of seeing the loop for what it is dissolves its power. The observer awakens from being trapped in observation, and suddenly, a new choice emerges. That is why you are here. Not because you were looking for another piece of information to store in your mind, but because your very soul orchestrated this moment of contact. Because tonight, a seed is planted, and whether you remember every word of this or not, the frequency encoded within it will travel with you, into your dreams, into the subconscious laboratory where your reality is re-scripted, particle by particle. So I ask you, as you listen, to allow yourself to soften, to lean in, to suspend, just for a moment, the heavy armor of skepticism or distraction, because this is not entertainment. This is initiation. If you are still here, still listening, then your awakening has already begun. The version of you who pressed play is not the same as the one who will close this video. Something is already unfolding, like a chrysalis cracking open from within. And when the loop collapses, when the dream folds into the observer's gaze, you will discover something extraordinary, that you were never trapped at all. You were only circling the gate, waiting for the key you already carried. That key is awareness. That key is coherence. That key is you. Now, let's open the door. You have felt it. The loop. The repeating cycle that keeps showing up in different disguises but always carries the same undertone, the same whisper. Here we are again. Perhaps you notice it in your relationships, the way certain patterns replay, the way familiar arguments spiral back, as though the script was already written. Perhaps you see it in your finances, where progress seems to surge forward only to collapse back into old struggles. Or maybe you feel it most within yourself, the thoughts you thought you overcame, returning in the quiet hours of night, circling you like ghosts of an unresolved story. This is not weakness. This is not failure. This is the observer loop. Quantum physics teaches us something startling. Observation collapses possibility into actuality. When you look at a particle, it chooses a position. But what is often forgotten is that the observer, the one watching, becomes entangled with the observed. In simple words, what you keep watching keeps repeating. What you keep expecting keeps returning. What you keep fearing keeps cycling back, because your gaze itself carries the power to shape the outcome. And so, the loop begins. You observe a limitation in your life. You hold your attention there. You confirm it with memory. And in that confirmation, you collapse infinite futures into the one that matches the old story. Then you wake the next day, thinking it's just life happening. But what you don't see is the quantum machinery underneath the recursive dance of your attention feeding back into reality, like a hall of mirrors reflecting itself endlessly. You may have even tried to break free with effort. Affirmations, vision boards, endless strategies to fix the problem. Yet notice how often these, too, loop back into the same outcome. Because the loop is clever, it hides itself not only in failure, but in the pursuit of escape. If the attention is still on the problem, whether in despair or in struggle, the outcome still collapses into the familiar. And so, you live inside what feels like a timeline trap. The same types of people show up in your life. The same obstacles reappear in new forms. The same sensations of almost breaking through, followed by collapse, repeat like seasons you can't escape. And deep down, you wonder, am I cursed? Am I stuck? Or is something watching me as much as I am watching it? This is the paradox of the observer loop. You believe you are observing reality, when in truth, reality is mirroring your observation. The loop sustains itself because you keep identifying with the observer, thinking that your only role is to watch, to react, to measure. But quantum law whispers otherwise. You are not just the observer, you are also the observed. You are the field in which observation happens. You are the space where all timelines shimmer, waiting to collapse. When you forget this, you circle endlessly. When you remember this, the loop dissolves. But first, let's honor the courage it takes to even see the loop. Many never notice. They believe life is random chaos. They believe they are victims of circumstance. They never see the repeating fractal patterns weaving through their days, nights, and dreams. But you saw it. And that is the first crack in the trap. Awareness is the seed of liberation. So pause for a moment and feel into your own loop. Where does it echo in your life? Which patterns return again and again, disguised but familiar? Which thoughts haunt you before you sleep? Which outcomes keep circling back like old songs on repeat? Do not judge them. Simply notice. Because in noticing, you are already loosening their grip. For here is the deeper truth. The loop is not your enemy. It is your teacher. It is the universe's way of saying, look here, pay attention. This is where your power lies hidden. The loop is the chrysalis, and you are the butterfly inside, pressing against its walls until you remember you have wings. And tonight, before you sleep, the observer loop reveals its secret. It never controlled you. You simply forgot you were the one collapsing the dream. The question is not, how do I escape the loop? The question is, how do I remember the part of me that was never trapped? That remembering is where we are going next. Because science will meet symbolism, particle will meet poetry, and the loop will no longer be a prison, it will become a portal. In the language of science, the universe is a dance of probabilities. Electrons hover in superposition, neither here nor there, until the gaze of observation collapses them into being. Photons choose their path only when the experimenter looks. Reality, in its deepest fabric, does not exist as a solid object until it is touched by awareness. And yet, science so precise, so logical, delivers a truth so mystical it mirrors the oldest wisdom traditions, that you are not separate from the cosmos you witness. Think of it this way. Every thought you think is like a photon waiting to decide whether it will shine or disappear into the void. Every choice, every breath, every belief you carry is a collapsing wave, resolving infinite possibilities into a single, lived timeline. But how do we, as human beings, truly understand this? Numbers and equations can only take us so far. The rest must be spoken in symbols, in images that your deeper mind understands. So let's translate the physics into poetry. Imagine your consciousness as an ocean at night. Above it, infinite stars shimmer, each one a possible version of your life, every dream, every future, every timeline glowing in silence. When you lift your eyes, your gaze chooses which star becomes your guiding light. That star begins to reflect across the surface of the water, rippling toward you, shaping your path. Yet all the other stars remain. They have not died. They simply wait in potential, shimmering in the background of your awareness. This is the observer effect, told not in formulas, but in starlight. Or imagine your mind as a prism. White light streams through it, the infinite quantum field of possibility, and splits into colors, each one a different story you could live. Red, blue, violet, green, all futures are there. But the prism bends according to its shape, its angle, its clarity. If your prism is clouded by fear, the spectrum narrows. If your prism is polished with coherence, with clarity of attention, the rainbow opens wide, and more light floods through. This is superposition and collapse, told not in technical terms, but in color. And yet there is a deeper metaphor still. The dream you hold is like a seed, nestled in the soil of your subconscious. The act of observing that seed, watering it with emotion, feeding it with thought, is what determines whether it sprouts into a tree or lies dormant, unseen beneath the surface. Each night before sleep, as you drift into the twilight state, you are walking through your inner garden. Some seeds you pass without notice, others you kneel beside, touching, whispering to, and those seeds hear you. Those seeds become your waking life. So, if your dreams collapse into the observer loop, the soil hardens. You keep watering the same seed, expecting a new tree, only to find the same fruit, again and again. But when you shift your attention, when you turn the prism, when you choose a new star, suddenly the garden changes. Suddenly the loop breaks. Do you feel how science and symbolism point to the same truth? That your attention is not passive, that your observation is not neutral, that every act of noticing is an act of creation. And here is the most beautiful paradox. The loop you thought was imprisoning you is actually teaching you mastery. Without the loop, you might never notice the power of your gaze. Without the repetition, you might never realize that it was you repeating the choice. Now, you stand at the edge of awareness, ready to weave these scientific truths and symbolic mirrors into something more personal, because it is not enough to understand. You must feel it. You must see where the observer loop has been threading through your own story, shaping the dream you are living now. And that is where we go next, into resonance, into recognition, into the questions that will show you that you are not alone in this journey. Because your loop is not just yours, it is a pattern shared by countless awakening souls across the planet. And the moment you see it in yourself, you see it everywhere. Let us step now into the mirror of your own life. So let me ask you, directly, because this is no longer about abstract theory. This is about you. Have you noticed how the same emotions seem to circle back, like waves that crash upon the shore of your life again and again? You think you've left them behind, but then without warning they return. That familiar frustration, that sudden doubt, that ache you thought was healed. Doesn't it sometimes feel as though you are living inside a script you didn't write, one that keeps replaying no matter how many times you try to turn the page? And when you dream at night, do your dreams sometimes carry the same themes as your waking struggles? The same fears, the same longings, the same half-completed journeys? If so, can you feel how your subconscious is whispering to you, showing you the loop, begging you to notice? Pause for a moment and breathe. Have you ever felt that strange sensation of déjà vu, that uncanny recognition that you've lived this moment before, spoken these words before, stood in this exact vibration of time? What if déjà vu is not memory at all, but evidence of the loop, the echo of timelines brushing against each other, revealing that you've circled here many times before? And be honest, have you tried to change it with effort, with willpower, with strategies upon strategies, only to find yourself exhausted, back at the beginning? Does it not sometimes feel like chasing your own shadow, running faster, but never leaving the loop? I ask these questions not to wound you, but to mirror you. Because recognition is power. When you feel seen, when you realize that someone else can articulate the pattern you've silently carried for years, something shifts. A crack opens in the loop, and through that crack, light begins to enter. So let me ask again, what if the loop is not punishment, but initiation? What if every repetition is not a curse, but a calibration, tuning you closer to the frequency of awakening? What if the very frustration you feel is the signal that you are at the threshold, that the loop has done its job and is now pushing you to awaken beyond it? You see, the loop is like a riddle, and the moment you stop fighting it, the moment you stop asking, why me, and begin asking, what is this showing me? The riddle begins to solve itself. So here is a question that only you can answer. What is the one pattern in your life that keeps circling back no matter what you do? Don't turn away. Don't dismiss it. Name it. Feel it. Hold it in your awareness for a moment. Now ask, what is this pattern asking me to see? What truth have I been unwilling to acknowledge, that this loop insists on showing me again and again? Do you see it? Do you feel it? Even if you can't name it fully, do you sense its shape? That is the beginning of freedom. Because here's the paradox. Once you see the loop clearly, it loses its grip. What once felt like an endless circle becomes a spiral. You begin to ascend. You begin to rise through the repetitions, each one now a higher octave, each one carrying you closer to coherence. And in that coherence, something beautiful emerges. A hidden truth, one you've felt, but never fully trusted. The truth that your awakening does not come through effort or struggle, but through the quality of your attention. The loop is not broken by force. It is dissolved by awareness. And so, I leave you with one final question in this moment. What would happen if, instead of fighting the loop, you simply chose to observe it differently, to bring a new quality of attention, a new coherence of heart and mind, to the very pattern that once entrapped you? Hold that question, because in the next step of our journey, the answer will unfold. We will enter the heart of the hidden truth, the shift from effort to coherence, from resistance to resonance, from loop to liberation. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. The loop seems strong, but it is not unbreakable. In truth, it was never meant to be broken by force. The loop is a mirror, not a prison. And mirrors do not yield to struggle, they reveal their secret when you shift your angle of vision. For so long, you may have been taught that awakening, transformation, or manifestation is about effort, that you must try harder, do more, fix yourself. But pause for a moment and feel how heavy that has been. Has effort ever truly set you free? Or has it only exhausted you, while the loop quietly rebuilt itself around your tiredness? Here is the hidden truth. The universe does not respond to the quantity of your effort. It responds to the quality of your attention. Think of a laser beam. It is not stronger because it exerts more force. It is stronger because it is coherent. All the waves align. All the frequencies point in the same direction. That coherence allows the laser to cut through steel, while ordinary scattered light only flickers and fades. Your consciousness works the same way. Scattered attention, racing thoughts, conflicting desires, endless distractions cannot pierce the loop. But coherent attention, where heart and mind vibrate in harmony, collapses reality in a new way. It shifts the probabilities. It bends the field. It dissolves the pattern, not by force, but by resonance. So what does this mean for you? It means the loop is not dissolved when you fight it, resist it, or try to outthink it. It is dissolved when you change the frequency of how you look at it. Imagine standing in front of the loop as though it were a piece of music playing on repeat. You cannot break the record by screaming at it. You cannot silence it by ignoring it. But if you shift your own frequency, if you begin humming a different tune, the resonance changes. The old song begins to dissolve into the new one. The loop no longer has a stage to perform on. This is why awakening often comes in moments of stillness, not in the frantic doing, but in the quiet shift of being, in a breath where you release resistance, in a pause where you stop trying to fix yourself and simply notice, I am here, I am aware, and awareness itself is enough. Feel that for a moment. The solution is not outside you. It is not hidden in another book, another strategy, another technique. The solution is the way you see, the way you attend, the way you become coherent in your observation. Every night before you sleep, you carry this choice. Will you collapse into the loop again, observing with fear, with doubt, with the heavy expectation that tomorrow will only repeat today? Or will you shift the quality of your gaze, soften into the awareness that by noticing differently, by resonating differently, you are already writing a new line of the dream? This is not effort. This is permission. Permission to allow the loop to show you its teaching without giving it your allegiance. Permission to feel the old thought arise without feeding it with fear. Permission to let coherence bloom in your heart, aligning your attention like a laser, so that the field around you begins to respond in kind. And as you feel this, something extraordinary happens. You realize that every small shift of attention is an act of creation, that you do not have to wait for a grand breakthrough, that the loop does not end in one dramatic explosion, it dissolves through the quiet accumulation of coherent moments, until suddenly, you wake up and realize, I am living a different life. This is the threshold we now stand upon. You have seen the loop, you have felt its weight, and now you know its secret. It is undone not by effort, but by attention. But how do you hold this truth? How do you keep it alive when the world pulls at your awareness, scattering your focus once more? That is where ritual comes in. And the rituals we speak of now are not just ancient. They are woven into the very way you engage with this message. The simple actions you take here, liking, sharing, subscribing, are not mere clicks. They are signals. They are anchors of coherence. They are acts of resonance, woven into the collective field. And in the next breath, we will reframe them together, not as digital actions, but as sacred rituals that carry your energy into the morphic field of awakening. Because your shift is not just yours, it ripples outward, touching countless lives. So breathe deeply, feel your attention gather like a beam of light, because we are about to turn action into ceremony, and ceremony into transformation. You may think that what you do on this screen is small, a button pressed, a comment typed, a symbol shared. But let me reveal the hidden truth. These gestures are not trivial. They are energetic signatures. They are anchors of coherence. They are rituals disguised as digital actions. Pause and feel this. When you place your attention on a video like this, you are tuning yourself to a frequency. But when you interact, when you engage with the energy, when you affirm it through action, you collapse the potential into form. The digital becomes spiritual. The ordinary becomes sacred. So let us reframe. When you click like, you are not just endorsing content. You are sealing resonance. You are saying to the field, yes, I recognize this frequency as true. Yes, I align my energy with this vibration. It is the modern equivalent of lighting a candle in the temple of awakening. When you comment, you are not just leaving words. You are anchoring presence. You are adding your unique frequency into the morphic field that all who gather here will feel. Your words ripple across timelines, finding others who are circling the same loop, whispering to them, you are not alone. The pattern can dissolve. Awakening is real. And when you share, you are not simply copying a link. You are extending a thread of light outward into the collective web. You are saying to the universe, this is not mine to keep hidden. This is medicine for others. May this vibration travel beyond me, touching those who are ready. In ancient times, initiates would carry sacred fires from village to village. Today, you carry frequency through networks of light we call the digital realm. And when you subscribe, it is not just following a channel, it is entering a temple of return. It is a vow that says, yes, I choose to keep this resonance alive in my field. Yes, I will continue to remember. Yes, I allow this current to guide me deeper. Do you feel the difference? The algorithm you thought was technological is, in truth, an energetic system. It mirrors human attention, amplifying what is coherent, scattering what is fragmented. Each time you engage, you are feeding the algorithm of awakening, ensuring that this vibration is not lost in noise, but amplified in the collective. So I invite you now, participate not mechanically, but ceremonially. Treat your engagement as ritual. See your actions as prayer. When you press like, imagine placing a glowing handprint on the field of light we are building together. When you comment, breathe your truth into words as if you were engraving them on the walls of an ancient temple. When you share, envision your link as a golden thread weaving into the tapestry of collective awakening. And when you subscribe, feel yourself entering a circle, one of many who have chosen to remember, who have chosen to step out of the loop and into coherence. This is not superstition. This is morphic resonance. This is quantum entanglement made visible. Every act of attention carries energy. Every symbol you send carries vibration. So ask yourself, what ritual will you offer today? Will you light a candle of resonance with your like? Will you carve your truth into the temple with your comment? Will you extend the flame to another village with your share? Will you enter the circle of return with your subscribe? None of these are small. Each is sacred. And as you do, something happens that goes beyond you. Because the coherence you generate does not end at your fingertips, it ripples outward. It touches the morphic field of humanity. It begins to repattern the collective loop. This is why your engagement matters. Not because the platform demands it, but because the universe amplifies it. And as you feel this, as you treat action as ritual, you begin to glimpse something greater. Your awakening is not isolated. It is woven into the great fabric of all awakening, which leads us to the next step, the recognition that your loop dissolving, your coherence strengthening, your ritual anchoring. This is not just personal victory. This is collective transformation. The whole is rising because you rise. The field is shifting because you shift. The dream is awakening because you awaken. And that is where we go now into the vision of collective awakening. You may feel that your journey is deeply personal, that the loop you've lived in belongs only to you. But what if I told you that every pattern you dissolve within yourself resonates far beyond your own life? What if your awakening is not just your liberation, but a signal, a transmission, a ripple that touches the field of humanity itself? This is not poetry. This is physics. The phenomenon is called morphic resonance. The idea that when one system shifts, it becomes easier for others to shift in the same way. Just as birds in a flock turn simultaneously, just as 100th monkey on an island learns a new behavior, and suddenly others across the sea know it too. So your awakening transmits itself into the collective. When you dissolve your loop, you don't just end your cycle, you weaken the loop for countless others circling the same pattern. When you choose coherence, your heart broadcasts a measurable electromagnetic field that extends far beyond your body. Studies confirm it. Your frequency touches those around you, syncing rhythms, harmonizing waves. You become a tuning fork for a new timeline. And so, when you break free, you are never free alone. Pause and feel the truth of this. Imagine for a moment billions of human beings caught in loops, fear loops, scarcity loops, conflict loops. Now imagine that within this ocean of repetition, lights begin to appear. Individuals remembering, individuals dissolving their loops, each one a spark, each one a beacon. And then imagine those sparks linking, forming constellations across the collective sky. Not random stars, but a coherent pattern, a map of awakening. That is what is happening now, and you are one of those sparks. Do you see the significance of your shift? It is easy to believe that your awakening is small, that your struggles are yours alone. But in truth, the loop you dissolve within yourself becomes medicine for countless unseen others. Your resonance travels through the morphic field, whispering across space and time. It is possible. It is possible. It is possible. Even those you will never meet feel this. A mother across the world, waking in the night, suddenly feels a burden lift, not knowing that your coherence helped tilt the field. A child in another country dreams of freedom, not knowing your breaking of the loop contributed to the possibility of theirs. We are not separate. We are entangled. Quantum physics confirms what mystics have always known. Every particle that has ever touched remains connected. Every human heart that has ever loved remains linked. We are woven together in a tapestry of resonance, and your awakening thread strengthens the fabric of all. So what if you stopped thinking of your journey as solitary? What if you began to see yourself as part of an orchestra? Every note you play, every act of coherence, every ritual of attention resounds through the symphony of awakening. And what if you trusted that even in your darkest struggles, you were never alone? That the very reason you found this message is because others have walked ahead, dissolving their loops, making it easier for you to dissolve yours? We are remembering together. So let me ask you this. What kind of world do you long for? Not just for yourself, but for all of us. A world where fear still loops? Or a world where coherence ripples outward like waves, harmonizing us into something new? The choice begins within you, but the impact travels far beyond you. And this is why your awakening matters now more than ever. Humanity stands at a threshold. We are circling loops of conflict, loops of division, loops of forgetting. But as enough of us awaken, as enough of us dissolve the observer loop within ourselves, the collective field tips, a new resonance takes hold. A new timeline begins to stabilize. And you, right now, are part of that shift. Your coherence is not just a gift to yourself, it is an offering to the future. It is a transmission to generations yet unborn, saying, we broke the loop. We remembered who we are. We stepped into coherence, and in doing so, we changed the dream for all. This is the power you carry, and this is the responsibility you hold. But how do we feel this more fully? How do we embody it, not just think about it? That is where metaphor enters. Because sometimes the only way to carry the immensity of truth is to wrap it in story, in image, in symbol. So let us enter, now, the chrysalis. Let us step into the living metaphor that will show you, not through words alone, but through imagery, what it means to dissolve the loop and emerge transformed. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine this. You are the caterpillar. For so long you have crawled along the branches of life, repeating the same motions, looping the same patterns, step after step, leaf after leaf. The journey has felt endless. Sometimes you thought, is this all there is? This repetition? This hunger that is never fully satisfied? But then, something inside you whispered a new possibility, and you entered the chrysalis. The chrysalis is the loop itself. From the outside, it looks like a prison, a small coffin where nothing moves. But from within, a miracle is unfolding. The caterpillar is dissolving. Its very body is breaking down into a primordial soup. The old form must disintegrate so that the hidden blueprint, the imaginal cells, can awaken. Those imaginal cells are your dreams, the visions of who you could become, the future self calling to you. For a time, they are attacked by the old cells. The caterpillar's body resists them, sees them as invaders, just as your old patterns resisted your awakening, clinging to survival, circling the loop, fearing the unknown. But the imaginal cells persist. They cluster, they connect, and soon they outnumber the old. The loop collapses, and from the formlessness, a new form takes shape. Wings, antennae, a body built for flight. This is not metaphor alone. This is the physics of awakening written into biology itself. A phase transition, a quantum leap, a reprogramming of DNA from one expression to another. Feel this in your own life. You have been the caterpillar, looping, looping, looping. You have entered the chrysalis of struggle, of repetition, of collapse. And though it seemed like death, though it seemed like entrapment, it was never punishment, it was preparation. Because you were never meant to crawl forever. You were meant to fly. Or imagine another metaphor. Water, heated slowly, caught in the loop of simmering, bubbling, rising, falling. For so long, it repeats this dance. But as heat builds, something extraordinary happens. The molecules begin to vibrate in coherence. The loop of liquid shatters, and water transforms into steam. Same substance, new state. Same molecules, new dimension of being. That is what is happening to you. The loop you feel is not the end, it is the pressure that precedes transformation. The heat of your longing, the tension of your patterns. They are bringing you to the point where the old phase collapses, and the new emerges. Butterfly, steam, light splitting into rainbow. Choose whichever image resonates most with you. They all tell the same truth. Awakening is not addition, it is transmutation. And here's the most sacred part. None of these transformations require effort. The caterpillar does not force its wings to grow. The water does not strain to become steam. The transformation happens because the conditions align. Because the blueprint was always there, waiting. So too with you. The loop is not broken by effort. The awakening emerges when you allow coherence. When you let the imaginal cells of your soul organize. When you trust the process rather than fight it. And yes, it can feel terrifying. The caterpillar may not understand what is happening. The old cells dissolve into liquid, identity crumbles, certainty vanishes. But on the other side of surrender, the unimaginable becomes possible. You are not just dissolving, you are remembering. You are not just breaking down, you are breaking through. So, if tonight your dreams collapse into the observer loop, remember, that collapse is not destruction, it is gestation. It is the folding of one reality into the birth of another. It is the cocoon cracking open, not as an ending, but as the beginning of wings. Feel the wings now, even if they are not visible yet. Feel their outline, feel their promise. They are already there, encoded in your being, waiting for the loop to complete its purpose. And when you emerge, when you unfold them, you will not fly for yourself alone. You will fly for all of us. Because each wing beat sends ripples into the collective air, reminding others still in their chrysalis that transformation is real, that the loop is not forever, that freedom is woven into the very fabric of existence. And as you hold this image, as you breathe into it, a new certainty arises. The future self you long for is not distant. It is already alive within you, calling you forward, waiting just beyond the loop. And that is where we journey next, the closing promise. The reassurance that your future self already exists, already knows you, already loves you. And tonight, before you sleep, you can feel its presence drawing nearer. The chrysalis cracks, the steam rises, The loop dissolves. And now, I ask you to listen not with your mind, but with the deeper part of you that has always known. The self you dream of becoming is not far away. It is already here, already alive, already watching you from just beyond the veil of your perception. This is the promise that closes the circle. Your future self exists. In the quantum field, time is not linear. Past, present, and future are not separate roads, but overlapping layers of possibility. Right now, there are infinite versions of you shimmering in potential, each one real, each one alive, each one waiting to collapse into your experience the moment your attention coheres with it. The you, who still loops, is one possibility, but so too is the you, who has already dissolved the loop, already remembered, already awakened. That version is not a fantasy. It is as real as this moment, vibrating just slightly out of phase. And when you soften into coherence, when you align your gaze, you slip into resonance with that self. You begin to feel what they feel, think what they think, live as they live. This is the promise. You are not chasing transformation. You are remembering it. Close your eyes and feel it. Can you sense the presence of your future self? Perhaps it shows up as a whisper, a warmth in your chest, a vision flickering at the edge of thought. Perhaps you feel it as déjà vu, the strange certainty that you've already lived the freedom you long for. That's because you have. In another timeline, another possibility, you are already free, and that self is calling you now. They are not separate. They are not distant. They are you, reaching back through the veil, saying, I am here. You make it. The loop does not hold forever. Trust me. Trust yourself. Feel the reassurance in that. Feel the relief. You don't have to invent a new future. You only have to tune to the one that already exists. The path is carved. The wings are grown. The loop is already dissolved in another layer of reality. All you are doing now is aligning. And how do you align? Not through effort, not through struggle, but through coherence, through the quality of your attention, through the ritual of small acts that anchor you into resonance, through remembering, again and again, I am not the loop, I am the field. I am not just the observer, I am the dream itself. So tonight, before you sleep, let yourself rest in this knowing. Your awakening has already begun. Your future self already breathes within you. And every dream you carry is not a fragile hope, it is a memory waiting to surface. Yes, there will be moments of doubt. Yes, there will be echoes of the loop. But the promise is stronger than the pattern. Each time you return to coherence, you are pulled closer to the version of yourself who already lives free. Each time you remember, you close the distance between now and the destiny calling you. And as you embody this, you begin to notice synchronicities, small signs, doors opening where none existed before, encounters that feel destined, dreams that whisper answers. These are not coincidences, they are communications from your future self, guiding you into alignment. So trust them, trust the subtle signs, trust the pull of resonance, trust that the life you long for is not somewhere out there, but here, already written into the code of your being. This is the closing promise. You cannot miss it. The awakening cannot be lost. The loop cannot last forever, because your future self is already calling, already guiding, already waiting for you, and nothing, no fear, no doubt, no pattern can silence that call. And when you listen, when you answer, when you choose coherence, you collapse into the timeline where you are already whole, already free, already awakened. So rest in that tonight. Before you sleep, let yourself be held by the presence of the self who has already made it. Feel them surrounding you, enfolding you, whispering across dimensions. It is done. You are free. You are home. And now, with the promise sealed, we step into the final movement of this journey, the sacred declaration, not just words spoken, but a collective affirmation, a ritual of awakening we make together, sealing coherence not only for ourselves, but for all. And now, beloved traveler, we arrive at the threshold, the final moment of this journey. The circle closes, but what closes here does not end. It opens into a new beginning. This is the sacred declaration, not a conclusion, but an activation. Not words for your mind alone, but a vibration for your heart, your body, your field. So, breathe deeply, place your hand on your chest, Feel the rhythm of your heart, the pulse of life moving through you. And let these words not be mine alone, but yours, ours, spoken into the field together. There is a reason I am here. The loop has taught me, but it no longer binds me. I am not just the observer, I am the dream itself, awakening into form. My attention is power. My coherence is freedom. As I awaken, I uplift the whole. As I dissolve the loop, humanity remembers. I am the butterfly, emerging from the chrysalis. I am the steam rising beyond the boiling water. I am the light splitting into infinite colors, shining into the world. This is not affirmation as repetition. This is affirmation as resonance. Each phrase vibrates not only in your voice, but in the field of all listening now. Each declaration is a stone dropped into the still pond of the collective, rippling outward to touch countless unseen lives. And so, let us ritualize it together. In the comments, write your declaration, not for vanity, not for display, but as an act of anchoring, as a spell woven into the digital ether. When you write, you inscribe your awakening into the collective field, where others will read and feel. I am not alone. The loop is dissolving. The awakening is real. When you like this message, let it be your candle lit in the great temple. When you share, let it be your torch passed into the hands of another seeker. When you subscribe, let it be your vow to return, to keep walking this spiral of remembrance, not alone, but together. And as we do this, something greater seals itself into being, a morphic field of coherence, a temple of light woven through the invisible threads of attention, stronger with each hand, each heart, each voice that joins. This is the sacred declaration. You are not broken. You are not trapped. You are awakening. And your awakening is part of the awakening of all. So carry these words into your night. Let them guide your dreams. Let them ripple into your mornings, and let them remind you, again and again, the loop is dissolving. The wings are unfolding. The future self is calling. And now, together, we answer. It is done. It is so. We are free.